Today I was talking with my wife about the differences between going to elementary school in China versus going to elementary school in the US. And there are definitely some big differences, but the thing that we were talking about today was specifically what happens when there's a student who misbehaves. What happens if there is a student who is acting up? Then what happens to them? So what is the punishment and how is that student punished for misbehaving? And my wife told me that in her classes, if someone misbehaved, that student had to stand at the back of the classroom for the rest of the class period. And I had never heard that. I thought that was so interesting. And also I thought, wow, if that ever happened to me, I would be like totally embarrassed and feeling like, everyone's looking at you, everyone's like judging you for what you did. I think I would feel humiliated. Anyway, if you went to elementary school in China or somewhere else where they made you stand up in the back of the room, then comment below and let me know. And if you went to elementary school somewhere else, then tell me how did the teachers punish the students who misbehaved, or what did the teachers do? Maybe they didn't punish those students, but they did something else. So tell me what happened in your elementary school classrooms. Let me tell you a story. When I was in second or third grade, we were doing an art project in my class, and we were using construction paper. Construction paper that was red and brown and white and green and black and all sorts of this arts and crafts paper so we could make turkey. We were cutting pieces of paper, so cutting the construction paper into pieces and then gluing them together to make a Thanksgiving turkey. So the turkey's body was one big brown circle, and then there were all sorts of orange and red and yellow feathers that went behind that. Then there was another circle of paper for the turkey's head, and then of course a yellow triangle for the turkey's beak and the eyes and everything else. Well, when I was in this class, I thought it would be really funny if we used that paper to do something a little bit naughty. And so one of my friends and I decided that we would use the brown paper and make a rectangle out of brown paper, and then get a little square of white paper and glue that on top of the brown paper to make a little cigarette for the chicken, or for the turkey. And so we glued that paper cigarette into the turkey's mouth, and we thought it was so funny. How old were we? Maybe 8 years old or something like that. And so we thought it was so funny. Then we were going to go display those on the classroom wall. But when my teacher looked at my artwork, she said, "What is that?" I don't think she noticed my friend's artwork because it wasn't as good, but my cigarette was like very believable. And so she said, hey, this is totally inappropriate. And in the US, like here where I grew up, in elementary school, if you get punished, then kind of the worst punishment or kind of the scariest thing that could happen to you is if you get sent to the principal's office. And so the principal is, the boss of that whole school. And if you get sent to the principal's office, well, that principal's going to talk to you and tell you, give you a lecture and kind of be the bad cop and, help you correct your behavior. And if that doesn't work, well, then the principal would call home and have a talk with your parents. So when my teacher saw my artwork, she said, go to the principal's office and take your artwork and see what they think of it. Oh my goodness, I was terrified. I was so scared because not only would I have to go to the principal's office, but I would also have to take this piece of artwork, a turkey with a cigarette coming out of its beak, and somehow I would have to explain that to the leader of the whole school. Or he would probably call my parents, and then I would get into even more trouble. Oh my goodness. I was mortified, terrified, shaking. And so I took my artwork, I clutched it in both hands like this, and I timidly walked down to the principal's office with that artwork, wondering what I would do. But as I was walking, I got an idea. I got a wonderful idea. What I did was, as I was walking to the principal's office, I just reached down and ripped that little paper cigarette out of the turkey's mouth. I was so ashamed and scared. And so then I think I just kept that little cigarette paper in my hand and it got all sweaty and hot. But I went to the principal's office, I knocked on the door and said, hey, my teacher sent me down here to show you my artwork. And the principal and the administrative assistant who was there, they took the artwork and said, wow, this is really good. This is a beautiful turkey. And I said, thank you so much. And they said, that's great. Well, that is cool. Thanks for showing us. Here, you can take it back to the classroom. I said, oh, no. You can keep it. Maybe hang it up here in the office. Or just, you can keep it. And they said, okay. And so I went to the principal's office. I got rid of the evidence and delivered it to them. And I went back to my teacher, and she was expecting me to come back with my head hung low and, thinking I had just gotten a big lecture from the principal, that I had gotten in deep trouble. But I came back, I was maybe a little bit bouncy and kind of happy, and I tried to hide it, but I was very pleased with myself for what I had done and how I had kind of fooled the principal. And my teacher asked me, so, what did the principal think when you showed him your artwork? And I said, well, he loved it. And everyone in the office thought it was great. And she looked at me like, huh? What? Her plan didn't work. And so I didn't get in trouble. And then I'm not sure what happened next, but it must have been close to the end of class, because probably what happened was the bell rang, class was almost over, there was nothing else to do, and so my teacher had to let me go. And so I walked free. It was amazing. And that is my story. I have a lot of stories of me getting in trouble, or getting sent to the principal's office, or getting in trouble in other ways. But for today, I'll just share that one story with you about how I got in trouble in elementary school. So tell me, how did you get in trouble in elementary school? Or were you just a golden child, a golden student? And if you got in trouble, what happened? So comment down below and tell me what happened to you. All right, if you enjoyed this story and would like to hear more stories like this, then remember to like and subscribe, and I will keep taking you on these walks by the lake and telling you these stories where I talk in slow and clear English. Not always perfect, but it's great for listening practice because it's real. And this is really how I talk. So I am talking just a little bit slower than normal, but if you enjoyed the video, remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.